Hare Krishna, can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the Uh, first chapter of the fifth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is titled as Activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. I'll do a quick recap and then we will take it forward. Just give me a second. Okay. So, as we saw, Parikshit Maharaj has this question that how is it that uh, Priyavrat Maharaj, who was a self-realized person, a perfected devotee, and Atma Rama, how is it that he became attached to um, how is it that he became attached to um, household life? And later, how is it that if he was attached to household life, how did he become attached to the lotus feet of the Lord and attain perfection? So this was a question asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadev Goswami. And in response, Shukadev Goswami starts answering. So he said that actually what you say is correct. Nothing wrong with it. But you should understand that those whose minds are absorbed in experiencing the sweet taste of the lotus feet of Krishna, they generally do not give up the auspicious path of discussing Krishna Katha, even though there may sometimes be some kind of obstacle. And then we saw that there are two kinds of obstacles in the life of a devotee. One is caused due to offenses, another is caused due to the desire of the Lord. That which is caused due to offenses, uh, some many times it may have to be experienced for the difficulties have to be experienced for a long time. The example is Dvivida. And sometimes when there is an extraordinary mercy by the devotee or Krishna, then the obstacle may go away much more quickly. That example is Rahugana. Or sometimes we may see that Krishna himself orchestrates these kind of problems in devotees' lives or obstacles in devotees' lives so that he can intensify their prema, or sometimes he wants to teach others through the example of these great personalities. And the example for this is actually both Bharat Maharaj and Priyavrat Maharaj. So in Priyavrat Maharaj's case, he wanted to teach others the importance of following the order of the superiors, even though externally it may look like it may not be very favorable for one's progress in Krishna consciousness. Hmm. So then he says that when Priyavrat Maharaj was serving the lotus feet of the Lord under the guidance of Narada Muni, Swayambhuva Manu was in a situation where, someone had to take over because, uh, Uttanapad's line it came to an end with Daksha. So he saw that Priyavrat Maharaj was qualified, so he came, but Priyavrat Maharaj did not want to accept it because he did not want to get bound. So at that point of time, Brahmaji arrives and Brahmaji starts instructing, uh, Priyavrat Maharaj. He said, please understand that this is the desire of the Supreme Lord. This is the order of the Supreme Lord. And don't think that but the Lord is beyond your estimation. He may make you involved he may get you involved in household life, but at the same time, uh, he may protect you and he may elevate you um, uh, to the spiritual kingdom very quickly. This is possible. The ways of the Supreme Lord are not very stereotyped, and you cannot understand it very easily. So please do not take it very seriously. Don't think that you have been put in an unfortunate situation. The ways of the Supreme Lord are very difficult to understand. Okay, that's what he is trying to communicate here. And he says that one cannot avoid the order of the Lord by any of your personal prowess, intelligence, strength, etc. You cannot avoid the order of the Lord. I mean, of course, this need not be told to uh, Priyavrat Maharaj, who was a perfected devotee. All that he needs to know is that if it is the order of the Lord, then Priyavrat Maharaj, being a perfected devotee, would be more than happy to execute it. But here, we should understand that according to the plan of the Lord is trying to accomplish something through Priyavrat Maharaj. He wants to teach ordinary people about the importance of following the orders of the superiors. Therefore, so much is spoken. Uh, but Priyavrat Maharaj, being the perfected devotee, does not need so much of cajoling and ordering, etc. by Brahmaji. We saw that the role of Yoga Maya in the lives of perfected devotees, like we saw Arjuna under Yoga Maya behaving like an ordinary person, hmm, behaving like an ordinary person, and Parikshit Maharaj under the influence of Yoga Maya behaving like an ordinary person, um, so that Bhagavatam could come out. Like that, we saw so many such cases, so many such examples are there. Okay. So in the same way, Priyavrat Maharaj also under Yoga Maya is acting in such a way as if he needed all this, um, telling that all these instructions on, oh, you know what, um, uh, you should not be disrespecting the order of the Supreme Lord and all that. So he says, all jivas attain bodies as directed by the Lord to perform actions for repeated birth and death. And all of us must obey the orders of the Lord, by whose words we are bound tightly. And he says that just like a blind man, when he has trust, when he has trust in his uh, exalted superior, he will just follow his instructions. He will just take him, even though sometimes that person with vision may be taking him in a direction. He may be taking him in such a way that uh, it may be hard. He may be taking him on a path which may be very hard. But one should understand that there is a particular reason why this person is taking me in this way, because probably on the cooler path there may be thorns or pebbles like that. So that way we have to understand that the Lord has some plan which is the best for me, and he knows better. He is omniscient, he is omnipotent, he is omnibenevolent. So he knows what is best for me and he wants the best for me, and he has the capacity to execute what is best for me. So I don't have to become uh, worried or paranoid thinking is the best thing happening for me. Okay, like that he is telling. Then he says that as long as the prarabdha karmas remain, even the liberated person maintains his body obtained by karma and enjoys without false identity. Hmm. So, of course, in this context, we were discussing that this prarabdha karma explanation is good for uh, this prarabdha karma explanation is valid for the karmis, jnanis, yogis, and ordinary materialists. But this prarabdha karma explanation is not correct for the devotees, those who have accepted the path of pure devotional service. For them, their existing body is not a product of their prarabdha karma. The moment someone takes up to devotional service, that body, which was till then a product of the prarabdha karma, is taken over by Krishna. Okay. Krishna purchases that body and it is no longer belonging to prarabdha karma. That one should understand. And then he says that, why are you so much afraid? Oh, my dear. Uh, why are you so much afraid to get into household life, my dear Prevrat Maharaj? Uh, he says that a person who is, he says that a person who is very much attached and whose senses are not at all controlled, do you think he is very safe in the, do you think he is very safe in the forest? He is still, the fear of samsara will not leave him because the problem is not outside, it is inside. And for a person who is completely self-satisfied Atma Rama, do you think he has to even fear household life? Huh? Do you think he must even fear household life? He need not. Okay. So that's what he says. Uh, and the third category is one who desires to conquer the senses, but he's unable to conquer it right now, but he has a desire to conquer the senses. He says that the best way of accomplishing that is to take shelter of the fort of Grihastha ashram. Hmm. He has to take shelter of the Grihastha ashram, because without taking shelter of the Grihastha ashram, which allows regulation, allows a way of engaging the senses, but at the same time regulates it and protects that person, that is best. The Grihastha ashram is best. Okay. So, and that will gradually weaken the senses through the process of Nishkama Karma Yoga. So he says there are three types of people we have seen. Okay. One without sense control, another is with sense control, and the third one who is desiring to control the senses. So he says for the first two people, there is no fault in accepting householder life. One who does not wish to control the senses, whose senses are not controlled, for him, no problem. Materialistic person. Household life is very good. For one who is already sense controlled, household life will not bother him. But one who desires to control the senses, for him, one should endeavor to control them by restricting them. Okay. So that is possible only by Grihastha. Okay. But my dear Prevrat Maharaj, Brahmaji says, you do not fall in either of these three categories. You are not a materialist who is not sense controlled. And you are not just a transcendentalist who has perfected transcendentalist, who has completely brought the senses under control. And you are not even a sadhaka who is endeavoring to control your senses. You have taken shelter of not the fort of Grihastha ashram. You don't need the fort of Grihastha ashram. You have taken shelter of the fort of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is a much more powerful fort. And on top of that, you don't have any enemies also. You don't have any enemies, because by engaging your senses in Krishna's service, you have befriended your senses. You have befriended your senses. Okay. So therefore, you have the shelter of a much more powerful fort of the lotus feet of Krishna. And on top of that, you have no enemies in the form of your senses, because you have completely befriended them. So you actually do not need Grihastha ashram to protect yourself. Okay. You do not need. But here, you should still accept, even though you don't need the Grihastha ashram to protect you, But you still should accept the Grihastha ashram because it is the desire of Krishna. It is the desire of Krishna. And you, of all people, should not worry that if you accept all the kingdom and wealth and family members, etc., you will be actually, mm, you will get into trouble because only wealth and prosperity that comes from one's own karma can bind one to this material world. But wealth, prosperity, and facilities, when orchestrated directly by Krishna, will not bind one to this material world. So don't worry. Uh, you will you accept it for a while, enjoy it, and after some time you will be able to easily give it up and focus again on exclusively worshipping Krishna as per your desire. So you don't have to worry about it. So that's what he says. So thus being instructed, Priyavrat Maharaj lowered his head and accepting that he was inferior to Brahmaji, he agreed, and with great respect he carried out the order of the great devotee Brahma, who was the guru of the three worlds. So Brahmaji then departed after being worshipped suitably by Manu, while remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we saw this. So Brahmaji should be taken as a very great devotee here. He was not trying to induce Priyavrat Maharaj to accept the kingdom for some selfish reasons. So he left while meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay. He was not an ordinary person. So, like that. As Priyavrat Maharaj and Narada Muni looked on without being disturbed, this is the most important thing. So they were not disturbed. It's not that they were extremely absorbed in the ashram. They were absorbed in serving the Supreme Lord. So therefore, Narada Muni was also not upset, and nor was Priyavrat Maharaj upset. Okay. So that is the most important thing. The most important thing is to be Krishna conscious. We should not be ashram conscious. Whatever ashram may be favorable for one's executing devotional service, one should accept it. Okay. Otherwise, sometimes, as an institution, or maybe when a leader of an institution, he has extreme attachment or very high regards for a particular ashram, let's say brahmachari ashram or something like that. He may end up overemphasizing on it, and it may end up creating unhealthy psychological pressures on the subordinates where they struggle very hard to maintain to remain in the brahmachari ashram, when actually they don't have to struggle so hard. They should be struggling hard to remain Krishna conscious actually. But they end up becoming very ashram conscious. Oh, somehow I have to be in the ashram. If people start thinking that if I change the ashram, I'm a big failure in Krishna consciousness. So a huge part of their mental space is taken in somehow trying to maintain their ashram rather than somehow trying to maintain their consciousness in focusing on Krishna. Okay. So in the case of Narada Muni, was Narada Muni preaching brahmacharya to Priyavrat Maharaj, or was he preaching Krishna consciousness? I mean, no one is against brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is favorable. We are not denying that. Prabhupada always says, whether it is brahmacharya or grihastha brahmacharya, both have to be followed. Even as grihasthas, one has to have a very regulated life, not an unregulated life of sense gratification. Prabhupada always says that. That kind of brahmacharya is important. But at the same time, uh, one should not one should not become too much ashram conscious. And what was Narada Muni preaching to Priyavrat Maharaj? It's not that he was preaching the importance of brahmacharya, which is important. But at the same time, one should not think that it is impossible for me to practice Krishna consciousness uh, if I don't remain a brahmachari. Okay. So oftentimes such kind of uh, thoughts are imposed on people, and at the beginning, devotees are made to feel oftentimes that if you get married, actually already you are starting the race. Uh, you know, already you have accepted defeat. You know, already you have accepted defeat. At least if you agree to join, if you agree to remain a brahmachari throughout your life, at least in the beginning, you have at least started the race. Maybe later you may get married or something. But if you in the beginning only, if you decide to get married, then you have already conceded defeat in your endeavor to achieve perfection in Krishna consciousness. Like that, people, you know, sometimes people are made to feel like that. So somehow they struggle. Mm. Somehow they struggle. But unfortunately, uh, they end up struggling for the wrong cause. They end up struggling to maintain their ashram rather than to please Krishna. So therefore, now the very fact that neither Narada Muni nor Priyavrat Maharaj were they seem to be upset. It is the verse clearly says when Brahmaji left, they looked up. They looked. Uh, Brahmaji left while Priyavrat Maharaj and Narada Muni were looking, and they were not disturbed. It is mentioned. So this indicates that Narada Muni was clearly talking about the importance of practicing bhakti. Okay. So therefore, when they understood that, okay, this is the Lord's desire, they were not upset. They were they were very clear about it. Okay. So there was no, oh my God, how will I uh, continue to practice Krishna consciousness without, you know, without after getting married like that, they did not have any problems. So oftentimes we may bind ourselves with certain preconceived notions that I cannot practice Krishna consciousness in this way or that way. Of course, that does not mean we should voluntarily put ourselves in situations uh, which may definitely not be conducive for Krishna consciousness. But having said that, uh, many times we become prisoners of our own conceptions that I cannot do this. If the situation is like this, I cannot do this like that. Like sometimes recently I was discussing in one of the sessions. Many of us oftentimes feel that in the if I don't complete my rounds early in the morning, I can never chant quality rounds. Uh, so somehow I have to complete my rounds early in the morning, which is good. We are not recommending that people carry over their rounds to later during the day. But even that is an external conception that we are binding ourselves into. In the initial stages, it is good. Okay. Somehow we have to understand the importance of chanting our rounds early in the morning. And not that later we should postpone our rounds. But ultimately, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the mandate, which is Kirtaniya Sadahari, always chant. Okay. So at some point, we have to get out of these mental blocks and self-created mental blocks that I cannot chant quality rounds beyond, sometime in the morning. If that time crosses, then that's it, you know. So sometimes, we may somehow try to, oh, I have to somehow try to complete my rounds before this time. But we can remove these mental blocks. Oftentimes we may have to endeavor to remove these mental blocks. Uh, I mean, no doubt morning times are best for chanting, uh, but that does not mean that we bind ourselves with that. Eventually, we have to uh, cross over these kind of mental blocks, either sometimes self-created, sometimes created by someone else for us. Hmm. So we have to understand. That's why it's important that we hear from Guru Sadhu and Shastra and overcome these kind of mm, mental blocks. Okay. So then it is mentioned his desire accomplished by Brahma, Manu, with the permission of Narada, established his son for maintaining proper rules of conduct on the whole earth and became detached from the desire to enjoy the poisonous ocean of disturbing material affairs. So we discussed on this theme also yesterday that uh, he, while he convinced Priyavrat Maharaj that don't worry because it is given by Krishna, nothing will affect you and all that. Uh, Swayambhuva Manu himself, he said, "Oh, thank God, everything is, uh, you know, thank God. Now I will not be bound by the poisonous ocean of disturbing material affairs." This seems very uh, contradictory, or sometimes someone may see it as hypocritical. Why hypocritical? Why this kind of a hypocritical activity? When it comes to telling Priyavrat Maharaj, you are telling, don't worry, you will not be bound by the householder life. Okay. You will easily escape it because this is Krishna's desire. And when for himself, Swayambhu Manu is thinking, thank God I escaped the poisonous ocean of disturbing material affairs. So it almost looks very hypocritical from an external perspective. You are pushing your son into it because you don't want to suffer. Hmm. And you're telling your son, no, 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 there is no suffering there. Don't go, 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 like that. No, actually, this is not what Swayambhu Manu is doing. This is where Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyahana Bhujai. Okay. So naturally, Swayambhu Manu is seeing Priyavrat Maharaj as a very exalted devotee and himself as a not so exalted devotee. So he says that, no, I have to, if I take up household life again, I will be bound up. He thinks this is very natural. Mana shunyata, the natural humility of a very exalted soul. And he is able to see Priyavrat Maharaj as very qualified. So he will not be bound, but I will be bound like that. So this is not hypocrisy. He is not trying to be hypocritical that he is telling a lie and pushing Priyavrat Maharaj into it while he wants to escape. It's not that case. Anyways, so then Priyavrat Maharaj has now uh, taken up the rule. He was preoccupied by performance of karma, by the desire of the Lord. So we saw about this yesterday that when would performance of karma be considered as devotional service? Uh, when that performance of karma is performed for the purpose of loka sangraha, and when that person clearly understands, I am doing it only for loka sangraha, but none of these activities is going to nourish me spiritually. Uh, uh, it is not for, I am not performing these activities for my spiritual nourishment. I am doing it only so that that varnashram system which Krishna has instituted, I should not become a cause of that varnashram system to be disrupted. Okay. Even though I don't need it, but others who may not have faith in bhakti, who are qualified for karma, they should be following it. And seeing me, they should not give up what they are qualified for. For that, with that mode, when one performs varnashram duties, that execution of varnashram duties is devotional service. So they should execute the varnashram duties with absolutely no faith in it, and they should execute the activities of bhakti with full faith in it. Okay, that is the principle. So, okay. Thereafter, Maharaj Priyavrat married Barhishmati, and in her he begot 10 sons with abundant conduct qualities, etc. Okay, and one daughter, Urjaswati. The 10 sons' names are given: Agnidra, Idmajihva, Yajnabahu, Mahavira, Hiranyareta, Gritaprishta, Savana, Medatiti, Vitihotra, and Kavi. Okay. Three amongst them, named Kavi, Mahavira, and Savana, they lived as Naishtika brahmacharis. They trained in brahmachari life beginning from childhood. They were very conversant with knowledge of Atma, and they entered the Paramahamsa ashrama, that is Bhakti. So, in the Paramahamsa ashrama, being free from the perception of difference caused by covering of body, these sons with peaceful disposition uh, realized oneness of the self with the Lord, who is perceived within the heart by the power of Bhakti Yoga, fixed in the remembrance of the lotus feet of Vasudeva, the abode of all the jivas, and the shelter of those afflicted with fear, and who is the soul of all living beings. And in another wife, Priyavrat Maharaj begot three sons, Uttama, Tamasa, and Raivata. All three of them became future Manus, okay, of the third, fourth, and the fifth Manvantaras. Okay, so this is where we ended our discussion yesterday. So let us continue today's discussion and see how far we can get. So he says, Srila Shukadeva Goswami continues, Evam upashamayaneshu swatanayeshu ata jagatipatir jagatim arbudani ekadasha parivatsaranam avyahata akila purushakara sara sambrita dordanda yugala pidita maurvi gunastanita viramita dharma pratipaksho barhishmatyascha anudinam yedamana pramoda prasarana yaushinya vrida pramushita hasavaloka ruchira kshevli kshvelyadibihi parabhuyamana viveka iva anvabuddhyamana iva mahamana bubuje. Long, long verse. So it is mentioned, evam swatanayeshu upashama upashamayaneshu. While these sons were engaged in the path of sense control, Priyavrat Maharaj, with a powerful mind, ruled the earth for 11 crore years. Okay. What 11 crore is 110 million? Is that correct? Is 11 crore 110 million? Is it correct? Anyone knows? Is this 11 crore first? Let me check. Yeah, 11 crores. Is 11 crores? Yes. 110 million. Okay. Okay. So he says, for 110 million years, and conquered his enemies by the mere sound of his bow, drawn by two arms filled with the strength arising from constant prowess, even though he seemed to have forgotten himself. Anavabuddhyamana iva. This iva is the most important word here. Okay. This iva is the most important word here. Shukadeva Goswami is he has buried the secret in this iva. Anavabuddhyamana iva. Okay. Means he seemed to have forgotten himself. Parabhuyamana viveka iva. And to have lost his sense of discrimination. He seemed to have forgotten himself. He seemed to have lost his discrimination. So when you say seemed to, it means it only looked like that, but it was not true. Okay. It only seemed like that, but he did not really lose it. Okay. So he seemed to have forgotten himself and he seemed to have lost his sense of discrimination by the constant increasing joy expressed by his wife, by her actions, feminine qualities, her laughing glances restricted by her shyness, and her attractive joking words. By experiencing all of this, it seemed like he had forgotten himself and it seemed like he had lost his sense of discrimination. So when you say seemed like, it means he did not actually lose it. From an external perspective, from a common man's perspective, it looked like, or uh, even from a sadhaka's perspective, it looked like he had lost it. He had lost his discrimination. He had gotten completely caught up in this household life. It seemed like that, but it is not true. According to Sridhar Swami, an Arbuda is 100 million. According to Jiva Goswami, an Arbuda is a period of 10 million years. Thus, Priyavrata ruled the earth for 11 crore years. This is easier for me. This million is a little bit difficult for me. Among his necessary qualities of power, enjoyment, and influence as a famous king, first his power is described. He conquered all opposers of Dharma without even a fight. By just the sound of his bow drawn by his two arms full of strength arising from his continuous prowess. So just by the twang of his bow, everyone surrendered. They did not even want to fight because they knew that the result is a foregone conclusion. The result is a foregone conclusion. So better we accept his supremacy. Next, his enjoyment is described. Okay, what was his enjoyment? It seemed that his sense of discrimination was destroyed by the ever increasing joy of his wife, seeing him approach by her rising up, changing of her ornaments, and going to other places, by her feminine qualities such as glancing, raising her nose, and scratching her ear, indicating her service attitude, by her smiling glances restricted by her shyness on seeing her husband's boldness, and by her attractive joking words. By seeing all this, it seemed that his sense of discrimination was destroyed. By these things, he appeared to have lost his discrimination and forgotten his own self because of material attachment. This indicates that his conduct was difficult for ordinary people to understand since his discrimination and intelligence actually remained intact. For only ordinary people, it seemed like that. But the reality is that his discrimination seemed intact. The reason is given. He had a great mind, Mahamanaha. He had an inconceivable mind because simultaneously he was attached and detached from material affairs. Uh, He was attached in the sense he was doing it diligently. He was engaging in them diligently. And detached means that it was only, uh, the mood was duty bound execution. Duty bound execution. Even his dealings with his wife and other family members, uh, even his dealings with his wife and the other family members, even though it looked like, even though it looked like, uh, uh, he was uh, very attached, but it was actually detached. He was showing affection as a matter of duty. He was showing affection as a matter of duty. Okay. So this is where, mm, this is the thing. Yavad avabhasayati suragirim anuparikraman bhagavan adityo vasudatalam ardenaiva pratapati ardena avachadayati tadahi bhagavad upasana upachita atipurusha prabhavastad anabhinandan Samajavena ratena jyotirmayena rajaneemapi dinam karishyami iti saptakrit vastaranim anupakar anupariyakramad dvitiya iva patangaha. Priyavrat reigned while the sun going around Meru lit up half the surface of the earth while the other half was dark. So according to the Vedic understanding, the darkness is caused when the of one hemisphere is caused. I mean, here we are not talking about the globe. Here we are talking about the whole Bhumandala. So one half of the Bhumandala is dark because the sun is covered by the sun is covered by the Meru Parvat. Okay, and when it comes on the other side, then there is light. Okay, attaining superhuman power by worship of the Lord, Priyavrata, Priyavrata, who was discontent with this condition, thinking that he would make the night into day by his brilliant chariot, which traveled at the speed of the sun, becoming like a second sun, he followed the movement of the sun 7 times. So it is not that he wanted to have 24 hours only day. This will become a little bit more clear in the commentary. But he was just, you know, just that he wanted to adjust. Like for example, in winter, sometimes uh, the the co- the cold is uh, actually inconvenient. Okay, and during summers, sometimes the heat is inconvenient. He wanted to actually uh, make things little bit more convenient. It's not, even though from the verse itself it looked like, he wanted to move on his chariot, which acted like a second sun in such a way that there could be 24 hours daytime. No, because by the 24 hours daytime, you actually upset the sleep of people. Okay. People cannot stay awake 24 hours a day and they cannot sleep when during daytime. So it's not like he wanted to really accomplish that kind of a thing where he made it daytime 24 hours a day. Uh, like for example, I think in the North Pole it is like what 24 hours daytime, and in South Pole it is 24 hours. It is night. It is dark like that, right? So it's not that he wanted to have that kind of an arrangement. It is just that he wanted to um, um, complement the sun in such a way that life on the Bhumandala could become little more pleasant, at least during the extreme climates. Okay, that's what he was trying to do. So what did he do? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, this verse describes his influence. Priyavrata reigned at the time when the sun would shine, lighting up half the earth. Earth here refers to Bhumandala, not just the earth planet. Okay. Up to the Loka Loka mountain as daytime, as it rotates around Meru, while covering half the surface of the earth with darkness, which experienced night. So this is what happens, right? By his worship of the Lord, he surpassed all humans in influence. Discontent with half the earth's surface being covered by darkness, he followed the movement of the sun so that when the sun set, he would light up that area. He followed the sun not to compete with the sun, but to give happiness to the inhabitants of the earth. Because of this arrangement also, in months like Jesh, the hot months, the sun made by Priyavrata was cooler than the moon. And in cool months like Margashirsha, the sun made by Priyavrata was warmer than the other sun at dawn and dusk. Okay. So here it is mentioned. This seems to indicate that though the days were longer in summer, it was not excessively hot. And though the days became shorter in winter, the days were not excessively cold. That's what it means. So somehow, whatever he was doing, it's very hard to conceive of what exactly he was doing. Okay, and how exactly he brought about these kind of effects. But whatever, it was a very extraordinary divine chariot which had all these kinds of ability. Hmm. So, um, anyways, so he was trying to accomplish this. This means that by the power of yoga of sages like Saubari, Priyavrat, of yoga of sages like Saubari, Priyavrat had two bodies, one as the king and one as the son. So this is the point. This is very important. This thing. Because one might wonder if Priyavrat Maharaj is trying to, create a favorable, um, weather pattern in this Bhumandala by constantly going around the earth on his chariot, then who is going to rule? If he is constantly moving, then how is the administration going to be handled? And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, oh, by the power of his yoga, he actually had two bodies. Just like, you know, Kardama Muni also expanded himself into 9 bodies. Uh, so, uh, so similarly, and Saubari also expanded himself into multiple bodies to enjoy with the daughters of Mandata. So, in the same way, here Priyavrat Maharaj expanded himself into 2 bodies. Okay, into 2 bodies. One was traveling on the chariot, around the Bhumandala, and the other was actually ruling. So one should not think that if he was going around the thing, um, mm, then how could administration happen if he is constantly moving around? This is the explanation that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving here. Mm. ये वा उह तद् रथचरण नेमीकृत परिकातास्ते सप्त सिन्धव आसन् यत एव कृताः सप्तभुवो द्वीपाः. The troughs created by the wheels of his chariot produced 7 oceans from which 7 continents were formed. Now the 7 continents are not, Asia, Africa, America, Australia, like that. You know, these are the greater seven, in the 7 islands and 7 oceans in the Bhumandala. These were all concentric islands and concentric oceans, starting with Jambudweep in the middle. So, so it was like that. So those oceans were created. Actually, it was all land before Priyavrat Maharaj. But then when Priyavrat Maharaj went around the Bhumandala on his chariot around the Mount Meru, his chariot wheels create 7 troughs. His chariot wheel created 7 troughs. And by that, the 7 oceans were formed. And around that, the 7 islands were formed. I mean, it is very hard to imagine, which means these were not ordinary human beings. These were not ordinary human beings. It's very hard to imagine. Then can you imagine the size of the chariot? Can you imagine the size of the chariot? Size of the wheels of the chariot? You know. So like that. So the movement of the wheel of his chariot produced troughs which became 7 oceans. This means that he had 7 chariots, each with one wheel by the power of his yoga. Okay. So all his chariots had actually only one wheel. Okay. Uh, all his chariots had only one wheel, only the outer wheel. And it was just coming around in a, it was like the chariot was more like a, tailgani, you know, uh, an oil extracting machine. Okay. Like that. So it had only, uh, it had one wheel, and and the, and that wheel was on the outer periphery and it was moving. Okay. Their movement was higher than the sun's and they circled around the plane of the earth. Earth means Bhumandala here. Jiva Goswami says in the Sandarbha that one should understand that the chariots were successively larger and larger in size since the outer circles were larger and larger. So there were 7 different chariots. Okay. So there were 7 different chariots. So that's how he could make 7 oceans of different diameters. And also the width of the oceans was bigger and bigger. Uh, The the ocean surrounding the Jambudweep was a smaller ocean. Okay, smaller in diameter and smaller in thickness. Um, and as and when the with the outer and outer oceans were both the islands and oceans were double the size. Some say that he made larger and larger chariots in succession, each one twice the size of the previous one, traveling higher and higher so that the inhabitants of his city in Aryavarta could see his chariot even at a great distance. Because the wheels of each chariot were broader than previous ones, the oceans were successively broader. He rode in each of these 7 chariots for 25 days and 45 and a half gatikas, each totaling half a year, starting with the summer equinox, with the sun gradually descending until the Paush month. Then again, starting with the winter equinox, he would travel until the cycle was completed with the same number of days fixed, but with the opposite order of chariots, with the sun gradually ascending until the Ashad month. Okay, this needs either, you know, Prem Gaurang Prabhu or Pavaneshwar Prabhu to explain. For me, this is, difficult to understand. Okay. As the sun traveled around Meru clockwise along with the dependent zodiac, it gradually increased in speed, and thus the days after the summer equinox become shorter each month, and from the winter equinox the sun gradually slowed down and the days become longer. In order to decrease the night, Priyavrat by his own will circled Meru, but slowing down his chariot, he increased the length of the days after the winter equinox and then decreased the length of the days according to his will by the speeding up of his chariot. So, which means he wanted to make the days and nights more pleasant during the summer and winter days. In essence, this is what he was trying to do. Okay. In essence, this is what he was trying to do. Okay. So, so this would apply relative to Aryavarta. It would gradually speed up during each rotation when it came to Aryavarta and slow down in the opposite area behind Meru. The accelerated section would gradually shift around Meru during the year. By the power of yoga, his chariots were visible or invisible according to the time. Okay. So what does this mean? It appears from this description that before the time of Priyavrat, the days and nights were equal. But by his will, he made the length of the days and nights change throughout the year. So, before Priyavrat Maharaj, it looked like the days and nights were equal. But he changed the lengths of the days and nights, with the change of the seasons. Only after him this started. Okay. Thus, 7 times in the previous verse means that he traveled in 7 chariots in the manner described above. There is no contradiction, since it is not proper to say that Priyavrata stopped pursuing the sun after only 7 days, and some say that he did not give up this activity. Because of the 7 oceans, 7 continents formed. Okay. Okay. So, what are they? So, I will talk with uh, I will talk with Prem Gaurang Prabhu and see if we can get him sometime soon in order to explain what exactly is happening here. How did Priyavrat Maharaj accomplish this? I will try to find this out. I'll try to speak with him. Jambu, Plaksha, Shalmali, Kusha, Krauncha, Shaka, Pushkara, Samgyas, Tesham, Parimanam, Purvasmat, Uttara, Uttaro, Yata, Sankyam, Dvigunamanena, Bahihi, Samantata, Upaklattaha. Tesham Parimanam. Here about the dimensions, okay, of the islands called as Jambu, Plaksha, Shalmali, Kusha, Krauncha, Shaka, and Pushkar. These are the 7 islands. Each island is twice as large as the one preceding it, and each is surrounded by an ocean on all the sides. Please hear about the dimensions of the continents. Outside of each ocean, the next continent is twice the breadth of the previous in all directions. Okay. क्षार क्षारोदेक्षु रसोद सुरोद घृतोद क्षीरोद दधिमंडोद शुद्धोदाः सप्त जलदयः सप्तद्वीप परिका इव अभ्यन्तरद्वीप समान एकैकस्येन यथानुपूर्वं सप्तसु अपि बहिर्द्वीपेषु पृथक् परित उपकल्पितास्तेषु जम्बुआदिषु बर्हिष्मतीपतिर् अनुव्रत अनात्मजान आग्निध्र इद्मजिह्व यज्ञबाहु हिरण्यरेतो घृतपृष्ठ मेधातीति वीतिहोत्र संज्ञान यथा संख्येन एकैकस्मिन् एकम एवाधिपतिम विददे. So how he distributed these islands amongst his sons, that is mentioned. The 7 oceans respectively contained, first was salt water, then sugarcane juice, then liquor, then clarified butter, milk, yogurt, and drinking water are like trenches surrounding the 7 continents of equal breadth to its corresponding ocean. Maharaj Priyavrat, the husband of Queen Barhishmati, gave sovereignty over these islands to his respective sons, namely Agnidra, Idmajihva, Yajnabahu, Hiranyareta, Gritaprishta, Medhatiti, and Vitihotra. Okay. Outside of each ocean is a continent, and outside of each continent is another ocean. Within the ocean of churned yogurt is a continent of equal breadth to the ocean. Within the ocean of churned yogurt is a continent of equal breadth to the ocean. Similarly, the other oceans and continents have equal breadth. Outside each continent is another ocean. They are not limited by being inside the continent, but are rather outside of each successive continent. So, there is an ocean, and then there is an ocean, and then there is an island of the same breadth. Then there is an ocean of twice the breadth. Then there is an island also of the same breadth, like that. दुहितरं च ऊर्जस्वतीं नाम उशनसे प्रायच्छद् यस्यामासीत् देवयानी नाम काव्यसुता. King Priyavrat then gave his daughter Urjaswati in marriage to Shukracharya. The daughter of Shukracharya and Urjaswati was named Devayani. So this episode will come in the episode of in the eighth canto. Like that. Anyways, okay. Any quick discussion points, comments, questions, anything anyone would like to share as add? We can take it right now. Okay. There is something in the chat box. Let's take that. Thank you so much for explaining in detail about how we need to be Krishna conscious, then ashram conscious, and respect all ashrams and also respect the brahmachari in spiritual life. Yeah. Extra rounds are like our extra effort to show our love for the holy name. Yeah, correct. Is it not against the Lord's judgment, arrangement? That's what modern scientists are trying to do now. So modern scientists do not know what is the Lord's arrangement. Here Priyavrat Maharaj understood that this is what the Lord wanted him to do. So it was not against the Lord's arrangement. He was a part of the Lord's arrangement. He was executing. Lord's arrangement is not executed personally by the Lord. The Lord's arrangement is executed by different personalities who are engaged. So Priyavrat Maharaj, so Manuputras are part of the Lord's arrangement. They are the executors of Lord's arrangement. Manuputra, the Manvantara avatar, Indra, the Sapta Rishis, and the other Devatas, they all are executing, they are the executors of the Lord's arrangement. Okay. But modern scientists are not. Modern scientists are not. So that's what we should try to understand. Sun's chariot also has one wheel. Yeah, correct. That is true. How is it that Priyavrat was the one creating the seven oceans, the continents, the seasonal changes, etc.? Should all these not be done at the time of creation itself as it belongs to the basic design of the universe? Well, you can see that this happens in the first Manvantara. This happens in the first Manvantara of the day of Brahma. Okay, in the Swayambhuva Manvantara. And then it continues till the 14th Manvantara. And at the night, the whole Bhumandala is destroyed anyways. The whole Bhumandala is destroyed anyways. Then again, the next day, during the Swayambhuva Manvantara, Priyavrat Maharaj accomplishes this, and then it continues till the 14th Manvantara. And then at the night of Brahmaji, again, the whole Bhumandala is destroyed. And again, it is created the next day. And then again in the Swayambhuva Manvantara, Priyavrat Maharaj does it. So it is all a part of it. Okay. Did these islands get created only after his efforts? It looks like that. Yeah, that's how it is mentioned. So before that, it was probably just one homogeneous thing. Okay, in which yuga is this happening? In which yuga is this happening? I don't know, maybe. I think probably Satya Yuga. Probably Satya Yuga. Okay, there is another question. Was this arrangement of Priyavrat only during the second half of Swayambhu Manvantara, or is it still continuing? Yeah, it is still continuing. We still have all these dvipas and the oceans and everything is continuing. Okay, there are few hands up. Let's take Madhavi Gopi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, there are 2-3 points. Like, means we read that Priyavrata expanded himself in two forms, like Sobari Muni and Kardama you mentioned. So, like, but we saw that there were 7 chariots and they were moving at a different distance with a different wheel size. Like, so that means he had expanded himself into 7 more forms. One form was ruling, and another 7 forms were in the 7 chariots. Like
No,
that.
not all chariots were moving around at the same time. It is mentioned that one chariot was moving at one time, and then the next chariot, and then the next chariot, and then the next chariot, like that.
Okay, so at a different period of time on different chariots, the expansion
Yeah,
used to go like that. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
And Prabhuji, like we saw that he did all this for the purpose that days and nights should be more pleasant,
yeah,
like that. And we
yeah,
also saw that earlier than what Priyavrata did, there were like days and night were equal.
yeah.
So now when we see, suppose in winter, the day nights are longer and the
Hmm.
days are shorter. So
Yeah.
due to that, naturally the availability of the sun's heat and light is lesser in winter, which
Hmm.
causes more coldness, and availability of the sun is more in summer, which vice versa causes more heat and things like that. So how to understand this, Prabhuji? Means earlier it was equal, but now due to inequality it causes more heat and cold like that.
Well, uh, I mean, it is difficult to, I mean, it is not due to inequality there is more, uh, there is more heat or more cold. It is not due to inequality. It is just that uh, if uh, if it was even more unpleasant when things were equal, and now that he has changed it, it has become little more pleasant. Now, uh, because we have not been there, or at least we don't remember being there during that time, it is difficult to make a comparative thing. But it looks like definitely it has become more pleasant with Priyavrat Maharaj making this arrangement. Only that much we can say.
Okay, because scientifically also we used to learn now that means availability of the sun will make all the difference regarding the heat and cold like that. So that is why I was thinking. Okay, but maybe it was like that. And Prabhuji, like how these oceans got filled up, like with various substances, mentioned seven different things. So it was created, but it's a huge oceans, and
Yeah.
to fill that, the huge quantities of
Yeah, I
things
mean,
are.
yeah, these descriptions will come little later, where there were appropriate trees. The jumbo tree was there, huge, matlab, really huge, and the pulp from that jumbo tree, jumbo fruits would fall down, and they would make oceans like that. I mean, these are like very difficult to imagine. They must have been in really amazing sizes, you know. Now you can say that if there are ants, uh, for ants, a bowl of water is like an ocean only. So, mm, similarly, these must have been in astronomical sizes. So it is difficult for us to imagine, but somehow, that's how the description will come in the later chapters.
Okay, Prabhuji. And one last thing, Prabhuji, like somebody also asked in the chat box that in which yuga this was going on. Because generally we hear that in Satya Yuga, lifespan was 1 lakh year, like that I have heard at least. Here we are seeing that Priyavat Maharaj was already doing he had perfected his devotion. So he was already had spent some life. Then 11 crore years he's ruling the earth. His sons were born, and we are seeing all three of his sons became the Manu. So one Manvantara period is 71 Chaturyugas now.
Yeah.
So that means the third one who ruled, he had already 71 plus 71 and plus when Priyavrat Maharaj was ruling. So how much was their lifespan,
These
Prabhuji?
were these were not ordinary people. These were Manuputras were very extraordinary living entities. The ordinary rules of lifespan does not apply to them.
Okay, maybe like Brahmaji is only they
Yeah,
can believe on. Okay,
yeah.
okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Keshav Priyamataji.
Prabhuji, actually, same thing, Prabhuji. Like Brahma is the secondary creator, na Prabhuji, Sarga, Visarga. So,
Yeah,
in that, we should understand that. Well, I was thinking that all this 14 planetary system and all this material world, all these things are arranged by Brahma only. But now, in here, we are seeing that even the Bhumandala is been created into different islands and oceans by Priyavat Maharaj here, Prabhuji. So everything is Visarga only, Prabhuji.
yeah. Visarga means it is, if you see the explanation of Visarga, it is actually carried out by Brahmaji along with all the Prajapatis and Manus and Manuputras and all of them together, headed by Brahmaji. It is not
No.
Brahmaji alone who does all these things.
Yeah, Prabhuji, so Bhumandala, when we go in the later sessions, in Bhumandala, I mean in Jambudvipa, there are 9 Varshas, and in Bharata Varsha, again there are 9 continents, and that we are in Bharata Kanda, like that. Here we are living, Prabhuji, in the southernmost tip we are living, Prabhuji. So everywhere people are living. So it is only after Priyavat Maharaj, this even only in Jambudvipa we find our identity, Prabhuji. So here, before creating all these things, Bhumandala will be a single mass of land, Prabhuji. There, because here it looks like
There
he
is
was
no
ruling.
description in Bhagavatam about how it was exactly prior to Priyavrat Maharaj creating it. Maybe there were demarcations. It's not like now there is a huge ocean between Andhra and Tamil Nadu, and there is another big ocean between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Not like that. So, there were geographical borders, even though they were not divided by water bodies like rivers or oceans. So similarly, there must have been some way of demarcation, but it is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is not explained by our acharyas, so we do not know. I do not know.
So these, yes, Prabhuji. So I'm just trying to understand. So this explanation is to understand our present location only, na Prabhuji. At present, we are located in like this. So
Yeah,
for that, we should know about all these things, Prabhuji.
yeah. At present, we are located here. In previous birth, we were in which species, where we do not know.
No, Prabhuji. Like that is okay, Prabhuji. That is individually. I'm telling like this division. After this division, only we in Bharata Kantana, Prabhuji. We are here in a small globe.
Yeah.
So that is being totally explained in further chapters will be explained, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So it is for this Bhagavatam is for this present for us now, Prabhuji. So for that they are explaining us to understand our position, Prabhuji. I'm just trying to understand that only.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. To understand where we stand here in this world.
Probably that is one of the reasons.
Okay, because in temple when we do archana means they will exact GPS they will say na Prabhuji Bharata Kante, Jambudvipe Bharata Kante, like that they will say na Prabhuji in temples and all. It is our GPS they say so for that they are explaining it. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Probably, yeah. Yes, Shivakumar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams Prabhu.
Dandavat Prabhu.
So Prabhu, one question Prabhu on the ashram. Now, we understand, we discussed on whatever is favorable for the individual devotee, he has to get into the ashrama according to his position, which would be favorable for bhakti. But what I see, Prabhu, I'm just trying to kind of understand this philosophically and from my personal experience also. It seems we know that bhakti is individual seed, but the moment we get into the Grahastha Ashrama, there is this other jivas that are involved, right, Prabhu? So it could be the family in terms of the spouse and children. If their desires are not aligned to the goal that I have, it's getting difficult, right, Prabhu, in terms of dovetailing or aligning the life itself, the Grahastha Asrama itself for the goal that we are envisioning. So it seems to me that the purpose of entering into the Grahastha Asrama is with a thought that it will be favorable for bhakti, but the moment the desire and goals of the other entities involved, of the family involved in the journey, is not aligned to that goal, it becomes very difficult, right, Prabhu? So I'm just trying to understand how do we.
See, yeah, that is true. That is quite possible. So therefore, it depends on how we perceive, how we define our goal. How we define our goal, it
Mm.
depends on that. Okay. If you are entering into Grihastha Ashrama while looking at yourself as an individual,
Mm.
it will always be a problem.
Okay.
But if you are entering into it by seeing like how we will progress together and we will, you know,
Yeah.
so if you are seeing as my goal,
Mm.
then that you have for yourself and the
Mm.
others as cooperators,
Mm.
then that will always be a problem because when they don't cooperate.
Mm.
But if you see yourself also as a cooperator,
Mm.
then when you see that the other people have some other goal, and
Mm.
if every individual thinks like that,
Mm.
you think that, I have a goal
Mm.
and others are cooperators.
Mm.
What if every single person thinks like that? I have my goal and everyone else is a cooperator.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So then it won't happen. So
Mm.
ideally, it should be like it is quite natural that
Mm.
it is happens in whether it is Grihastha ashram or Brahmacharya ashram, in any ashram.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
you may have a goal, but
Mm.
the person with whom you are sharing your room in the Brahmacharya ashram may not have the same goal.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I mean, of course, the greater goal in terms of serving Krishna, yes, but
Correct.
beyond that, that may not be there.
Okay. 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 Mm.
So that is always there. So
Mm.
do you see uh, uh, the family as one entity? Where are you thinking in terms of what is best for the overall growth of the family? Because some people tend to think like that. You know,
Mm. Mm.
okay, how can I take this family together? How we can progress together in Krishna consciousness? How I
Mm.
can make each individual take one step closer to Krishna, wherever they may
Mm.
be in their
Mm.
level of
Mm.
faith.
Mm. Mm.
Some people, they have their goal in this way.
Mm.
They will not have much frustration
Okay. Okay.
because they are okay. They have already made up their mind. I'm
Mm.
entering the ashram very much understanding that bhakti is an individual seed, and
Mm.
it is what I want to do is I want to uh, help everyone. I want to do my part
Mm.
in everyone making their journey towards the goal of Krishna consciousness. Wherever
Mm.
they are, I will assist. If that is the goal, then
Mm.
it's okay. But if you are entering it thinking
Mm.
that I have my goal and
Mm.
somehow I have to attain my goal,
Mm.
and others can either cooperate with me, or if they are not cooperating,
Mm.
then I'll have to think what I need to do.
Mm.
With
Mm.
that mentality, yeah, it
Mm.
is difficult to kind of navigate
Mm.
mm, in the ashram because it is quite natural that not
Mm.
everyone. Otherwise, you have to ensure that before your marriage, you find out a person who shares exactly your goal.
Correct, bro. Mm. 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 Okay.
So it,
Okay.
it all boils down to the mentality with which we approach the whole ashram.
Mm. Mm. So, yes, thank you, Prabhu. I'll think about it. A lot of points to think about it. So, Prabhu, just one question, Prabhu, extension to this. Uh, if I have some idea of opinion of the amount of progress that I want to make in this life, is that by itself material or selfish? Although the goal is Krishna, Prabhu, spiritual path.
No, uh, we can always definitely dream and
Mm.
hanker,
Mm.
as long as we understand that it depends on our endeavor and also
Mm.
on mercy of Krishna.
Mm. 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 Okay, okay. Because I mean, I'm seeing the time and energy is limited, right, Prabhu? So where to kind of channel it, how to balance it is always a question. So I think you brought
Yeah,
it at the right point that
the
let's
limited
see.
is correct, but
Mm,
you're understanding that time and energy is limited.
mm,
What kind of an emotion it is creating in you
mm,
is something that's very important.
mm,
If that limited is making you
mm,
actually um, inspired and more diligent,
mm,
then it's very good.
mm,
Uh,
mm, mm,
but
mm,
if it is making you feel very hopeless and helpless
mm,
and very dejected, then you should understand that this body is just like a dress. Krishna has promised Neha Vikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So even little bit of progress, Krishna will facilitate for me to progress in the next life from wherever I left off. That promise is there. So we have to see if we are feeling unhealthily, depressed and dejected and hopeless because I see that, I am already, I have crossed my 40, 45 and my body is not cooperating, then how much more I can progress? I looks like this, I can hardly reach even Nishta or Ruchi in this lifetime. When we feel like that, we have to understand that no problem, we can always, kind of, the next life is there. So I will do my best, depend on Krishna's mercy. And if my life air leaves my body before I achieve perfection, I trust in Krishna's words that he will facilitate my progress in the next life.
Okay, Prabhu. Okay. So, Prabhu, just one last question, Prabhu, on the same topic. So, to me, it feels like, it appears like this somebody's qualification of taking up brahmacharya ashramam. Is it a matter of a choice, or he has actually crossed it in the prior birth in terms of attaining that qualification, that he does not have the dependency of getting into the grahastha ashrama to do bhakti, but he has actually crossed it in a birth, and that's why he is able to take up a brahmacharya ashrama. Is that?
Well, no, see, you are talking on the path of bhakti, or are you talking on the path of the general
Even on the path of general spiritual, any other pursuits also, Prabhu, other paths also, impersonal maybe. Brahmachari, I'm just speaking of this ashrama perspective, that someone has actually crossed it. They have earned
if someone
qualification in a birth.
on the gradual path, on the gradual path of progress, if someone has already reached the state of, if they have crossed the stage of anarthana vritti, where the purification is very clear, and purification of goal and purification of anarthas have been accomplished from the very young age, then they don't need to enter the grahastha ashrama. Directly from brahmacharya ashram, they can take up to sannyas and they can progress. So that must have been accomplished in their previous life. For someone who has taken up to bhakti, so which means the point is very interesting point. One who has perfectly practiced grahastha ashram in the previous life, okay, and purified, he might be qualified to remain a brahmachari in the next life.
Okay.
So, so that purification is the prerequisite.
Okay.
On the path of bhakti, there is nothing of that sort. There is nothing of that sort, because it is immaterial whether to remain whether you remain a brahmachari or a grihastha. That is immaterial. Ultimately, what is most important is, are we progressing on the path of bhakti?
Okay. Got it. Got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Right. Okay, we have another 4 minutes time. Yes, Srinivas Prasad.
Hare Krishna, Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Prabhuji, my question is like, you said in the beginning that when Krishna takes care of even pralabdha karmas, so what is the definition for a devotee? Like, is he just who has taken to the process, or he is like a pure devotee? Or because in the next class which we Prabhupada purport we read, so there we were discussing that pralabdha karmas one has to suffer, but apralabdha karmas Krishna takes care, but one unmanifested Krishna takes care, but one who has the manifested karmas one has to go through. So can you just throw some light that what kind of a devotee one is, like if he's just started the process, so Krishna takes care, or he has perfected his devotion and then Krishna takes care.
One
Or
who has started his devotional service, from that point on, Krishna takes over the prarabdha karma.
okay.
That
So we
does not
will,
mean there will be no suffering.
okay.
That suffering is given by Krishna, not by karma. That's all.
Okay. So that suffering is not because of the karmas.
No, it is not given by law of karma. That suffering may be due to our misuse of free will, but that is given by Krishna. If Krishna thinks that giving that suffering is good for this person's progress, Krishna will give. If not, he will not give.
So basically, Krishna takes the charge. If
He takes
somebody
charge. Yeah.
once a person is taken to this process or taken to the lotus feet of the Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay. So there are no further questions. So we will pause here, and it's also time. So we will continue this discussion tomorrow. Thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai. Srimad